again, everybody. This is Joe Larson, and you're watching the 5 Off, 5 On Racing Show. Welcome. Hope everybody had a good week. I know I did. Was hit with some sad news today. Another member of our Long Island racing community passed away. Steve Sadler, former figure eight driver, passed away. I don't know what the cause of death was. I just know, just got the word from Riverhead Racing PR Director Bob Finan that Steve had passed away. So our prayers go out to Steve and his family. Steve only raced figure eights for a couple of years. To my knowledge, it had purchased the former Bill Steen car. In fact, the figure eight car that I currently have and that my daughter drove and Brian drove was a former Steve Sadler car built by Kenny Messemer way back when, while Kenny Messemer was working at Grumman. But our prayers to Steve and his family. We lost another good one, guys and gals out there. It's kind of amazing. I don't know if too many people remember Steve. Steve had a nice sponsorship with the National Guard here on Long Island when he raced figure eight cars on Long Island. And you know, it's something I thought about on the way out here is that the late Kenny Hyde and Steve Sadler shared a shop together in Holbrook, right off the expressway at exit 62. And it was kind of ironic how that happened. But our prayers go out to Steve. Anyway, what did I do this? I actually went to Riverhead Raceway this Saturday night and played spectator. That wasn't the plan. Things never go as planned. The plan was to maybe get some seat time. It doesn't always go as planned. As the 2014 season is just not happening for me the way it was supposed to. But we'll get through that. We'll make it happen. We're getting closer and closer. I had a brief impromptu meeting with a Riverhead Raceway car owner on Saturday night after the show was over. And I'm not prepared to say anything at this point, but it looks promising that we can get some seat time and some laps in at the Riverhead Raceway here on Long Island, and just one step closer to running the tour on. Because I know my crew is getting antsy, my car owner is getting antsy, and I'm getting antsy. So we'll keep everybody posted and as we go along. But yes, I got to play spectator. Got to sit with the Long Island Race News, myracenews.com, I should say, people up in turn 2 for the event. A vantage point that I've only sat in once in the 40 some odd years I've been going to Riverhead Raceway. It's basically the same vantage point I had when I was the head guy with the view from on the ramp type of thing, just a little bit higher up, and just kind of see the same stuff. The cars are going at you and the cars are going away from you. But in sitting there and watching the show, and what I'm about to say is not a Riverhead Raceway bash. Please understand that. Any of you who are out there and are close to the powers to be at Riverhead Raceway, please, this is in no way, shape, or form a bashing. It's constructive criticism. And, you know, I had an old boss years ago who had said to me, a failure to plan is a plan to fail. Now, when you have a venue that you're out there, whether it's race cars, whether it's a circus, whether it's a baseball game, hockey game, football game, whatever, you need to have a plan in place, a show, on the internet, whatever. You need to have a plan. Now, of course, I brought my scanner and my headset and plugged in and put the racetrack channel on or the Nascar channel on and kind of listened to what was going on. And my first and foremost disappointment was there did not seem to be a chief. No one person taking control. What that caused, in my opinion, is it caused a lack of communication amongst the other officials and the competitors. Now, yeah, they could talk to the drivers from the tower and from wherever that they talk to the drivers from. You know, they at 15 get behind the 22, and number 9, slow down on a restart, or number 72 catch up. Whatever the case was, they're able to do that. And I'm all for that. I really am. That helps move the show along. But what I could not understand, and maybe somebody in our chat room could help me to understand this, is the inconsistencies when it came to cars going into the pit area, for whether it was a minor repair, a flat tire, a major repair, whatever the case was. And there was nothing coming over the radio, nothing coming over this, through the headset in regards to what was going on. So here we are, and I was time and lapse. I was just time and lapse, and in this case, the modified race. I was time and lapse, and it gives you a lap by lap by lap by lap on my timer, on my stopwatch. And in one point in the modified race, we did 14 laps under yellow waiting for somebody to come out. Now, it doesn't matter who that person was. Maybe it matters to you folks out there, but I'm not trying to make any inferences on anything. But one of the guys sitting next to me said, you know this is going to be a long one, and we're not going green until so-and-so gets back out. And I thought that stuff ended. I really did. Now, as a fan, wearing a fan's hat that night, I was bored. I don't want to see cars driving around it, you know. As Harry Man said once in the chat room, I don't want to watch cars drive around the racetrack at speeds that are slower than what are driving down my road in front of my house. And it was just a couple of other instances, you know. It's just they're having and you know, they want to put this guy down, they want to put the guy down, want to put him down, and finally the flag man says, makes a comment, you know, in the driver's defense. You know, no, you shouldn't go to the back because of these, and I'm going to say these stupid, dumb cones for the figure eight race. Now, I'm close to the figure eight. I've driven, I've owned, I've officiated, and coming down those straightaways into these corners, there's a lot of pushing, beating, and banging. And in this instance, I believe it was the 28 car driven by Roger Maynard, was sent around and pushed down and went into the cones. They're ready to put the guy in the back. I'm thinking the cone rule is if you deliberately cut under them or go through them, yeah, you should be put in the back. But if you're sent into them, it took like a meeting, albeit on the radio, to make that decision. And I've heard a lot of discussions at Safer Means. I don't go to the racetrack as a fan too often. I'm out and about doing other things, like going to tour races and stuff, and enjoying, you know, life as it may be. And so when I'm at the Safer Means, I hear guys or competitors and car owners talking about the cone situation and how sometimes they call it, sometimes they don't. You know what? The cone shouldn't be there. And there's a line there. It used to be white, now it's yellow. And I'm going to say what I used to do, and for those of you out there who know, if a guy went under that line, and I mean under it, not just on it, if he went under that line and gained a spot or two, I'm taking the spot away. The next caution, take the spot. There's a caution, because if there is none, I would take it away at the end of the race. So if you think you finished fifth and you pass two cars under the white line or now yellow line, you would now be seventh. The other thing is, and again, I made a lot of errors as a head official at the racetrack, not only at Riverhead, but on the tour too. I'm not perfect. And nobody is, and as my daughter says, if practice makes perfect, then nobody's perfect, then why practice? You know, got a good point. I didn't understand, like I said, there's just too many chiefs. There's too many chiefs, yet nobody was taking control. The score tower had more control over the racetrack than anybody. And my understanding as an official is the score people, their job is to score the races. Their job is to, whether they're using transponders or you hand score, whatever the case may be, their job is to do the lineups, keep track of where the cars are running or the trucks are running, and at the end of the race, be able to give you an accurate finish in a timely manner. Now, they were doing that, and I'm not going to put the scores on. The scoring's a hard job. I've done it. But it just seemed like there was nobody in charge. There was nobody in charge. And that bothered me. It bothered me a whole lot. There's a couple other things that bothered me. I mean, there was some good stuff. There was, at points, at times, there was some good racing. But there was more bad racing than anything. And that cannot be controlled by the officials. Well, maybe it can. But there seemed to be, and I saw this on the social networks, all day Sunday and all day today, Monday, and the lack of respect that competitors have for one another. If it's not your night, it's not your night. Get out of the way. Don't beat and bang and push and shove and wreck people. I mean, it's just not, that's not racing, folks. And the way to stop that, the way to combat that is a head official, the man or woman in charge, needs to make a decision and make a call based on it. Don't just let it happen, because this is what's going to happen. And I'm going hypothetically, and again, this is no way, it's not a bashing, it's a criticism, a constructive criticism that I hope somebody listens to. Because if I'm a competitor, and I blatantly get sent into the wall and sent into the infield or crashed into under yellow, and the official doesn't do anything about it, and especially in a situation where there's like a handful of chief officials that make decisions, if nobody takes control of that situation, if nobody makes a decision, if nobody penalizes the driver who did that, sent somebody in the wall, tried to drive over the back of somebody, sent them into the infield, crashed into them under yellow. If the official doesn't do it, if I'm the guy that happened to, if I got sent into the fence or sent into the infield, I'm running in the top five, and all of a sudden, I'm the back of the pack, and nobody does anything about that, I'm going to stew about it all week. And next week, I'm going to take care of it. And then it becomes a vicious cycle. And this doesn't happen just at Riverhead, Long Island. This happens at all these racetracks across the country in different series and different divisions. When the officials don't do something about a situation on a racetrack, it snowballs and gets worse and worse. And before you know it, after 2 or 3 weeks to go back and forth, the next problem you have is the crews are duking it out in the pits. The driver drives off the racetrack, and now the driver gets out of his car or her car all upset, and they're jumping to the melee. And a lot of these racetracks today, they're not in a situation where they could suspend drivers because the car counts are so doggone poor. I watched the late model feature this week, and I remember having heat races with those number of cars, and we had 3 of them. It's just a sad state of the affairs, and it's not, like I said, it's not just here on Long Island. It's everywhere. The car counts are horrible, and I talked to some people. Well, what's the problem with the car counts? Part of it's the economy, and part of it is just people are tired of the nonsense, and there's a lot of nonsense going on at weekly racetracks all over the country, and it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be, and like I said, back when you had 30, 35, 40 cars in a division, and if somebody got out of line, you could park them for a couple of weeks. You could park them for a couple of weeks, a week even. And it's not about the loss of money that these guys are worried about. They want to race, just like I want to race. They want to go out and race. And the late Kenny Hyde and I, we had a couple of weeks suspension back in '96, and the toughest part of that suspension was him and I got stuck sitting in the grandstands with our little kids while our wives were in the pits having a grand old time. That was the worst part of it, not being able to race and sitting in the grandstands. It wasn't about the fines. I've been fined as a driver. I got fined numerous times. Just hand them a check. Hand them a check. Anyway, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll talk about some of the positive things that went on this past weekend. I'd like to share with you when we come back.
Hey Beatle fans, I'm Glenn Calderon.
And I'm Lucy Diamond.
Join us every Tuesday night from 8 to 9 p.m. Eastern Time for Beatles Across the Universe.
On InRavio.com.
Broadcasting to the world.
Catch us. I'm Nikki Lorenzo, and be sure to watch In or Out, pun intended, on Friday nights on inravio.com.
Transmission of lice occurs from being in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Like catching a cold or a flu.
You have guaranteed peace of mind in every bottle of Got Lice because all of our products are completely natural,
And organic.
but strong enough to cover all your lice removal needs while being safe and effective. Our professional technicians are specially trained with our exclusive proven technique to successfully comb out head lice. We come right to your home at your convenience.
Whenever you want us.
We bring everything needed to perform a successful and complete comb out while eliminating your head lice. And we leave you with our exclusive complimentary products to use for the next 10 days following our treatment.
For free.
Our technicians also check all family members who have been exposed to lice. Please visit us on our website today at gotlice.co or feel free to call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week at 646-257-0121.
The world of advertising has changed. Radio, TV, and newspaper revenues have declined drastically. Why? Because businesses have realized that advertising return on investment isn't what it used to be. So what can we do about it? Well, that's easy. Advertise online. Own a local restaurant, real estate agency, or even a national retail chain? Whatever your business, InRavio can get your message out there. And we can do it at a fraction of the cost. Call today and see the difference for yourself. This isn't TV. This isn't radio. This is InRavio.com. For over 60 years, Hanson Carpet has put the customer first, providing only the finest quality products and service. And Hanson Carpet is so much more than just carpet. We also carry a wide selection of window blinds and shades, and our licensed and insured technicians can service any of your flooring or window covering needs. Browse our huge selection of laminate, carpet, linoleum, vinyl, and tile. Stop by our showroom today or visit HansonCarpet.com. No matter what your project, Hanson Carpet has got you covered. InRavio.com.
I noticed during break, the chat room was talking about travel times to and from certain venues they've been to over the years, and somebody mentioned, yeah, when we did that, gas was $1.50 a gallon. And it's funny that you guys are talking about that, because I had a very long, detailed conversation with NASCAR competition administrator Jerry Cook this past Saturday night at Riverhead Raceway. We videoed it, we recorded it with the help of Long Island Need for Speeds, Kevin Basic. There was some audio situations that we just couldn't overcome. However, my tech guy here at InRavio is going to see what he could do during the week to recover the audio, because it's there. It's there very faintly. So he's going to play with it during the weekend. So we'll hopefully next week we'll be able to air the interviews that I did with Kevin Basic and Long Island Need for Speed of Ryan Preece, two-time Riverhead Racer champion Howie Brody, the winningest figure-8 driver of all time, Roger Maynard, with 110 wins, and Jerry Cook from NASCAR. And one of the things I talked to Jerry about was the difference, or the differences, in modified racing today and when he did it. And he looked at me very seriously. He says, Joe, the cars are pretty much the same. Yeah, the only difference is the technology is different of how we got there, but the cars are basically the same. What's different? What's different is the fact that not the technology part, but the cost to travel and the cost of equipment and the cost of tires and these big haulers has gotten out of control, has skyrocketed. He had said if he raced today, he would not have been a four-time champion, four-time national champion. I believe that's what it was, a four-time national champion. Six-time NASCAR champion. And because back in the day when he raced modified, there was no tour. There was no Whelen Modified Tour, the Featherlight Tour, whatever it was called in its inception. It was just, you took your modified, you weren't racing at a NASCAR facility, and your points counted. The stories of the late Jerry Cook the late Richie Evans and Jerry Cook living upstate New York and standing on the, parked on the highway to see who was going where so they can go somewhere else. Those discussions are legendary. So Jerry said if he raced today, he wouldn't have been a six-time champion because the cost of fuel alone would have destroyed him. Because back when he was doing this, fuel was 40, 50 cents a gallon. You loaded up, you fueled up, and you weren't racing. When his car got all mangled up, he could go to a junkyard and get parts. In fact, he was talking about when he first ran the Falcon body, the 38 car that had the Falcon body on it, when he first ran that, he ran that because racetracks are giving more money if you ran a stock-bodied Ford. A couple of $100 worth of more money. Now think about that. Back then, back in the 60s, that was a lot of money. So he was getting that at every race, which, as he put it, covered his expenses to go. He also shared that one of the situations that he kind of gets involved with is when it comes to rules. A lot of folks say we should have this rule, we should have that rule, and we should have the other rule. And this is what we should do, and this is what we shouldn't do, and blah, blah, blah. And he said when you sit down at the table and you're talking about rules and what rules you need to have and what rules you want to enforce, change, modify, whatever, one of the things you have to look at is, are we going to make any race cars obsolete with this rule change? Yeah, you could change a windshield rule, you could change a seat rule, you could change a body measurement rule, rear end change, tranny, even tweak a motor rule. But you start talking about changing front clips and rear clips and how everything bolts on, you might be in a situation, or NASCAR might be in a position where they just made somebody's race car obsolete and that team or teams do not have the money to take what they have, throw it away, and build new. So that's one of the things. A lot of people say, oh, they should change the rule, they should make this. You don't want to make race cars obsolete. You just don't want to do that. So that was a good conversation, and hopefully we could save that interview and get it aired in its entirety. And he also said, somebody in the background had kind of yelled out, about the Cup cars, how the Cup cars, don't look like the street version. And Jerry was very adamant to defend that they are, and that the lines and the measurements for the body panels, whether it's a Ford, a Chevy, or a Camry, are what the factory dimensions are. Now, the person that was shouting us, they were kind of in disagreement. But I have to say, I was in the R&D center, and they had and it was, I'm going to say last year, so they had the 2014 cars, how they were going to look. And they had the 2014 race car, the Gen 6 car for 2014, and the stock counterpart parked side by side. And we were able to take measurements if we wanted to make sure the lines were the same, and this was the same, and that was the same. And I'll tell you what, for the most part, they were. Same thing with the trucks. They had the the Chevy truck, the Ford truck, and it was sitting side by side, and other than the suspension on the stock version, the truck was higher. The body panels were all the same. So Jerry got a little tweaked with that, and because it was almost like it was his baby. So I don't know. I don't know. But we'll see what happens. But it was a good conversation, and I thank Jerry Cook for taking time out of his busy schedule, because I know he's all over the country, all over these short tracks, and I know he enjoys going to Riverhead, and it's to him it's a good modified show, and unfortunately, it was a race that was just, there was a total disrespect for a handful of competitors in that race. And and for those who aren't familiar, they ran twin 30s, two 30 lappers, two features. They basically check a yellow at 30 laps, made sure the field was in order, and they went green and ran the second segment. A lot of people say that there should be a break in between, but no matter how they chose to do it, somebody's going to say how they should have did it better. But there were drivers who were trying to win both segments on lap one of the first segment. And I don't know if their goal was to take somebody out so they weren't around for the second segment, and I'm not going to go into specifics, but you can watch the tapes, and I'm sure the tapes are out there. It was just, I was in amazement. And how the black hanky wasn't held out a couple of times, for aggressive driving and I don't mean putting them to the back. There was a couple of drivers, in my opinion, that they would have been done for the night if I was on the ramp. And maybe I was a little hard on drivers with that kind of stuff, but you know what? Here's the thing, and I'm going to, and I know the guy doesn't watch or listen to the show, but he now lives in Florida, Eugene Malverde. This gentleman was rough. He was in the Blunderbuss division. He was rough, and he pushed you out of the way, and he beat you, and he banged you, and he shoved you. And, and on more than one occasion, on more than maybe 5 occasions, maybe 10 occasions, he got the black hanky. He got the black flag. And my black flag wasn't you went to the back. My black flag was you were done. And, Mike Fields, he was writing for Area Auto at the time, and he did a whole story, how I, spoke softly, but I carried a big stick that had a black flag attached to it. Well, one night after the races, and it was late in the season, this competitor, Eugene Malverde, and I, we went into my office, and we sat down, and we had a heart-to-heart talk. And I said to him, I said, Eugene, if you would just show a little patience, if you would try to pass a car over time instead of trying to just beat the guy out of your way so you could pass him in one corner. And a great driver once said to me, when you're trying to pass somebody, you get your quarter first, then you get the door, then you get even, and then you go. And I explained this to Eugene, and he didn't understand what I was trying to say, because, coming from a mediocre figure eight driver that I was, how could I be given any kind of racing advice? Because, I think my best finish in the points was 20th. But the off-season happened. And he bolted a black flag to his dashboard in his truck that he had to see every day, because he didn't want to see a black flag the following season. And he came back with a new car and a new directive, and when the season was over, he was the point champion for that division. Now, I'm not saying I had anything to do with that directly or indirectly. But if you take care of the nonsense on the track, if you take these drivers on the side as the head official, and take a driver on the side and don't embarrass them, and go in, you have a nice little talk, a little chat. I used to call them Uncle Joe talks. And you go and you talk about it. Look at a video together like I did with Ray Manieri. When I only looked at his video, we looked at my version, which was from a total opposite end of the racetrack. And after he saw it from my perspective, it was like, wow, because it's all perspectives. But there were, somebody in the social media, on Facebook, they wrote a comment about that there was no respect in that race. Now, their cars, they had two cars in the event, and one won, and one finished, I believe, fifth, I think it was. And she was right. She was absolutely correct. They had a good finish, and there was still no respect. The carnage that went on, it was just incredible. And a lot of it had to do with the lack of respect. It was open at night, boys and girls. You're holding over grudges from I don't know when, last season, the season before. And, don't get me wrong, I used to be that way too. Now, in 1979 this guy got me, and here it is, 1989. I got to pay him back. I have an opportunity. I used to be that way, but no more. I don't know. I don't know. What did they say? You guys are talking, why? I don't know. I can't read what they're saying. But anyway, you got to have respect, folks. And I would sure love to have. I know Mike Capiello, he's listed in the program, has agreed to come on the show. Just don't, we got to make that arrangement. And I want that show to be all positive. But that's a question that maybe somebody can call in and ask about that. What do you want to do? Because again, it was it was I think there was 17 modifieds. It was like 11 late models. It was like 10 figure eights, and there was like 10 charges. The Legends had like a gazillion cars as always, but you can't start throwing people out when you only have 10 cars in a division. You can't do that. So what is my opinion? My opinion is when you have a situation where you have to penalize a competitor. First of all, fining don't work. Giving them a fine don't work because you have blunderbuss drivers putting $800 worth of tires with a $6,000 motor for $100 to win. So it's not about the money. Everybody's there for that little piece of plastic at the end of the night and the big piece of plastic at the end of the season. That's why everybody's racing. So you know what you got to do is, just like they do in the top series, the car and driver, owner, however you want to call it, they're going to be a loss of points for their infraction. Just my opinion. On the line we have from Long Island Need for Speed, my video guy, and I thank him for all his efforts with that, Kevin Basic. Kevin, you out there?
Yeah, how you doing, Joe?
I'm doing good.
Turn it down. That's why I'm talking to you on the phone. Stupid me download stuff half hour before your show because some kind of internet update for Microsoft, whatever.
Yeah.
So the computer's down. So what'd you think of Saturday night? I thought it was pretty good, except they needed more people in the stands, though.
Yeah, well,
it's open at night, but still.
It was cold, and a lot of people that scared some people away. And there also weren't a lot of race cars, and race cars put fannies in the seats. And the crowd was okay, but I've seen open night crowds that were a lot bigger. But this is happening everywhere.
Right. Yeah, yeah. What'd you think of the videos and stuff? I know we had a problem with the audio thing, but your
the video portion was awesome.
I know that new camera's great. I love it. I just got to get used to doing it. And now I got to talk to GoPro because I want to get the GoPro going, and I can't even get that to go.
Yeah, what we could do is my plan is to be at Riverhead this Saturday night, and we could redo those guys, and I think Jerry Cook will be up at least a couple more times, and we'll be able to get him again. But
yeah, right.
But my tech guy here in Ravio is going to play with it and see if he can salvage the sound.
All right, but you could use the other video clips of
absolutely. Yeah, there was some good stuff there.
Yeah, I was trying to hook up. I found out what's wrong. That mic's no good. So what I got to do is I'm going to go back to a Burger Brother camera and see if they can hook me up with another mic, and I'll make sure that everything works for this Saturday. It's trial and error at the track. Yeah. That goes for the GoPro, the whole 9 yards.
From what I was looking at, I was watching the late model feature from your video, and is your camera mounted in turn one?
I had, yeah, for speed shots.
Yeah, it was a nice view of the Roger Oxy going airborne thing.
Yeah, really?
It was a good shot. It was like right there.
Yeah, well, until they wrecked the freaking camera.
Yeah, did they?
I might even take the camera and put it in somebody else's car because according to Walter or whatever, I could do whatever for the video stuff because I asked him about NASCAR. He says if they got it confiscated, it's confiscated, but you could use it.
Yeah.
So that'll be good. You know, I'm waiting to put it in your car when you go there with the 33 race team.
Yeah, 83. I'll be running the 83.
Yeah, right.
Even my weekly number is going to be 83.
Yeah,
But-
right. Yeah, I hear you. What else was I going to say? What do you think of all those new haulers and stuff? Wayne Anderson's got one now. Brigatti's got one. What's that telling you?
Well, you know, it's
Not Brigatti. I mean, what do you call it? The 36 there.
the 36 Sapiens.
Yeah.
Ed Cox said this a long, long time ago. You know, you can't go screaming for more money to race when you're spending $500,000 on a hauler.
Yeah, right.
He hit the nail right on the head with that, but I don't know. Anyway, I'm being told I'm behind. I got to take a commercial break, Kevin. You're welcome to hold, and when we come back, we can
All right.
continue. We're going to go to break, and we'll be back.
The world of advertising has changed. Radio, TV, and newspaper revenues have declined drastically. Why? Because businesses have realized that advertising return on investment isn't what it used to be. So what can we do about it? Well, that's easy. Advertise online. Own a local restaurant, real estate agency, or even a national retail chain? Whatever your business, InRavio can get your message out there, and we can do it at a fraction of the cost. Call today and see the difference for yourself. This isn't TV. This isn't radio. This is InRavio.com.
Hey, Beatle fans, I'm Glenn Calderon.
And I'm Lucy Diamond.
Join us every Tuesday night from 8 to 9 p.m. Eastern Time for Beatles Across the Universe.
On InRavio.com.
Broadcasting to the world.
Catch us.
Hey, we're back. Kevin, you still there?
What can I else tell you? I told you on Saturday, yesterday when I seen you over there by my house, when I dropped off the DVD for you. We got a sponsor for the Old Timers Night. The tow truck operator, the guy that owns the tow truck company, said he'd give us either between $500 and $1,000.
Oh, for the nostalgia of the race.
If any of you old timers are out there that listen to this show, like Joe Krakowski or any of those old timer guys, what's his name? They used to drive the number 9, Georgie Wagner, Brunhussel, maybe Eddie Brunhussel Sr., all those guys. It would be nice if you had those guys there And they did like they used to do with the All-Star League and like they do with the Whelen Modified Tour, introduce each driver and stuff like that. I got a confirmation. The Barker boys are coming with 2 cars from Staten Island. And I talked to another guy, this guy Marty, that has the Gil Hearn. The Pinto actually did race here at Islip, and I don't think it ran Riverhead, but I think definitely Islip Speedway during the All-Star League.
During the All-Star League, yep.
Yeah, it's like one of the cars that looks like my brother's Pinto, so that'll definitely be coming. So my brother's going to bring 3 cars, so I don't know what you want, but I think Sal's got the Pinto, so you could either have the Vega or the Coupe. I don't know.
There, either or. The seat's a seat.
So it should be good. It should be a good night. Just try to get cars. I got a guy from up. I told you from up in Connecticut that has the 16 of Tommy McCann. It's actually his Pinto. It's being refurbished. It'll be ready. And also have the a Vega that was Tommy McCann's also. It has McBetts written on it and all that stuff. So that car is coming. And I'm trying to get a hold of the Chris Young guy because there's a Chris Young Pinto up there. And also there's it's number 14 now, but it used to be Georgie Brunhussel's Vega, believe it or not.
Oh, wow, okay.
Also. So, plus all the regular guys that have cars like the 5, the Wolfsburg car, all the Charlie J cars. I'd like to have at least maybe 15 cars there or so.
That'd be awesome.
I'm definitely making sure that everybody raced on the island because that's what Bob Finan said. He doesn't want anybody, the cars that raced on the island. I mean, if it was the All-Star League or the 300-lap race, whatever. Even if they raced at Freeport and didn't run Islip, or they ran Riverhead and didn't run freaking Islip or Freeport, but still the car, came on Long Island. I'm also going to try to get a hold of this guy Hines in Pennsylvania. He has the 15X, the Bill Spade car. Try to get a hold of my brother's good friends with him. So try to get a lot of cars out there, hopefully.
Kevin, remind us again, when's the date of that race?
That's August 16th. That should be a really, really good night, seriously. I'm looking forward to it. My brother's looking forward to it. Because these are, like I told you and I tell everybody else, the real modifieds. Like we had that conversation with Jerry Cook.
Yep.
And I asked Jerry, well, Jerry, why can't you put a Mustang body on the car? Cut it from the firewall forward, have it like it is today. Or, put a Camaro body or something like that. Well, technology, I'm like, you could still get the sheet metal. And then we started getting in about the cup cars, and he kind of got a little pissed off.
Yeah, I mentioned that, yeah.
Hey, I speak the truth. They all look the same. The only difference, I go, Jerry, is the front nose and the rear clip, and it's all decal anyway. If you look at a Ford and you look at a Toyota, they look the same on the side. You know what I'm saying? The Chevy's a little bit different, but that's it. You know what I'm saying? But the other ones, they all look the same if you look at it from the side.
But he was saying that, and I saw this at the R&D Center, that the measurements supposedly are the same. I didn't take a tape measure and measure them, but they were showing us when we were there. I think John Darby was there, and he's one of the way higher ups at NASCAR, and he was there, and he kind of mentioned that the lines are the same and the measurements are the same, but for some reason they just don't look the same. I don't know. But
no, they don't. They should go back to old technology. And like I was telling you, take the fuel injection out, get rid of the multi-car teams, get rid of all those computers. How come you don't see computers in modifies or the late models and stuff like that? What's the deal there?
Yep.
Take all that crap up, go with a 4-barrel carburetor, let the guys do their own thing, and I guarantee you'll have better races, you'll have fans in the stands, it'll be really, really good.
That's why they were called modifieds, because you can modify these things and make them go. And I understand why they went to what they went to with bodies and measurements. It made it easier for NASCAR to do the post-race tech or pre-race tech even. But it's not the same as it was. As we talked with Jerry Cook, the technology that's in these cars today is just astronomical.
Well, what kind of car are they supposed to be? I know the deck lids could be a Camaro or the deck lid could be a Mustang, but it doesn't look like a freaking Mustang if you look at a modified from the side. Or you look at the Camaro from the side, it doesn't look like a Camaro.
No. What identifies it in a modified, if I'm correct, is that the roof is what determines what the car is.
Yeah, right.
That's my understanding, and they're getting these roofs right from Troyer Engineering, and they're supposed to be the same roof that's on that car. So,
because like I told you, I told Jerry that if people like a certain driver, like Buzz 2 Chevrolet, that car, and he's like a winning car, they're going to go out and buy a regular Camaro, because if they had a regular Camaro body on the car, they'll buy it. You know what I'm saying? Just like if somebody else was driving, like I said before, a Mustang body or a Dodge Challenger body or whatever, they'll buy that car. Support, you know what I'm saying? But now every car looks the same. Just the windows are a little bit different. And tell you the truth, like I told Jerry, they look like dirt bodies in a way, believe it or not.
Yep. No.
So you can't win with NASCAR.
No. Anyway, look,
Like I said,
I thank you for your help Saturday. When we'll get it right, and we'll continue to trudge along and get those interviews and get those videos here in radio.
Right. I also got drill team stuff I could do because,
Absolutely.
We'll show highlights of the drill team racing because they'll be starting to bitch that they don't get any airtime. You know what I'm saying? I see those guys all the time.
Excellent.
And I was right yesterday. Piston knockers are out practicing. They're breaking the motor and driving around the
You said that,
streets
yeah.
of North Lindenhurst. Yeah.
The Piston Knock is
that's
the
their
North
30,000,
Lindenhurst Fire Department drill team.
Yeah, that $30,000 motor.
Yeah, that's what are you going to do? Anyway.
What are you going to do?
All right,
I'll
Kevin.
catch you Saturday at the track.
You got it.
Anybody
Thanks
else
again
say
for your
hi?
help.
All right, thank you. Oh, I got my computer back. I'll have to go back online. All right,
There you
thanks.
go.
Bye.
Hey, I want to thank, we have some viewers. I just got a listing. And I love, we're just talking about technology. I love technology. So I want to thank the following folks for being here. We have viewers tonight from Miller Place, New York, Bayshore, New York, Babylon, New York, Manorville, New York, Central Islip, New York, Medford, New York, Brooklyn, New York, Middletown, New Jersey, Watertown, Connecticut, Richmond, Virginia, Cleveland, Ohio, Tyler, Texas, Keller, Texas, Chicago, Illinois, and get this, folks, Honolulu, Hawaii. Thank you, folks. It's a pleasure to do this show for you, and for all you guys and gals out there. I mean, this is like, wow. They just slipped this piece of paper to me with these people, and I had no idea. I mean, I'd like to know who from Honolulu, Hawaii, is watching in the show. Yeah, if you're, what did they say? If you could hear my voice, and you're from one of these towns, jump in the chat room, say hello. We'd like to hear from you. But it's all good. It's all good. And what else we got? If you're looking for something to do, check out the contest tab and enter to win tickets to one of the many shows at the Paramount in Huntington, Long Island, New York. Also, go to ParamountNY.com for a complete listing of the upcoming shows and to buy tickets. Remember, you got to be in it to win it. And it's nice to know a handful of people that chat in the 505 on Racing Show chat room have been the recipients of tickets to the Paramount. So it's all good. I want to thank you folks for being a part of that. But yeah, this is wow, with a smile on my face. Honolulu, Hawaii. That is like awesome. It's got to be like, wow, 6-7 hours behind. So it's, well, see, they're on their lunch break probably watching the show. That's good. And don't forget the archives. All our shows are archived, and you can go on and look at them. They're there forever. We never take them down. But anyway. But yeah, Kevin brought up some good points in the conversation we had with Jerry Cook. And Jerry Cook, though, he was adamant. He was adamant about how did he put it? He goes, in a cup level, it used to be what one on Sunday, sold on Monday. And he says, I don't see that happen with a modified. And he's right. Nobody's going to go out and buy, let's go to Maine or Troyer and go buy a race car. No. But what they're going to do is it's brand loyalty. And, Kevin brought up a point about, Brian Chu's number 88 Chevrolet and on the tour, modified tour. And, you know what? You're out there watching the races. You live on Long Island. You might say, wow. I need a new car. I might go to Boy's Shoe and go see what we got. Maybe we could get something and say I saw it at the races. And don't be afraid to say that when you see a sponsor on a race car and you go to do business with that business or whatever. And don't be afraid to say, hey, I'm here because I saw your name on a race car. And back in the day when I had Inline Chiropractic and Doctors About Care, sponsorship. My deal with them was I got a percentage of what they made from new patients that said they saw it on the race car. So, people going in there and say, hey, I saw it on the race car. Hey, I saw your logo. I saw this. Hey, your driver did good. Your driver did pretty bad or whatever. There were more bads than good, trust me. But he was getting the recognition, and that's all a sponsor wants, is they want that recognition. And NASCAR fans are the most brand loyal fans in all of sports. Now, the NFL with the Nikes and stuff, are people running out and buying Reebok shirts and Nike shoes? I don't know, maybe. But how many people, go out and they see their favorite driver has XYZ company on the side of their car, or on the hood, or blazoned across their fire suit? Blazoned across my fire suit says ASI. One of the, I guess that company puts together a lot of fire suits for a lot of people. But brand loyalty, when people see my fire suit, they say, hey, where did you get that suit? I'm going to go get one. And hopefully that's what part of the battle is. And even with other sponsorships, you see it on the car. And I'm going to say, one of the things that I did, not only with my figure eight car, when Brian drove it, and when Randy Johnson drove my blunderbuss, and when Jessica drove the blunderbuss and the figure eights, I had a bunch of people out there. And, we handed out, whether it was a card, whether it was a big thing, whether it was a coupon, we handed out stuff from our sponsors. And that sponsor was getting the recognition that they paid for. Remember, I talk about this all the time. It's return on sponsorship dollar. You want your sponsor to realize something. And I'm going to tell you something, and I had a conversation about this just Saturday night. There are drivers that drive at these racetracks, and I'm not just talking Long Island. I'm talking about the 80-plus racetracks that I've been to in North America that have the sponsor this season, but the sponsor doesn't come back. Now, people come up with excuses. Hey, what happened to Acme Corporation? He wasn't interested. He wasn't interested because he didn't see, or she didn't see, return on the investment of their sponsored dollar. When I sponsor a person, because I've sponsored cars through my company, I want to see a return. I'm not just going to say, here's, $5,000, $10,000, $2,500, whatever it was, and say, hey, go have a ball with that. I want to see something back. I'm not looking for a kickback, something back. I'm looking to see somebody come to me and say, hey, you got that guy this good sponsor. Maybe you can get me one. Or what has happened a couple of times is companies and corporations had come to me and say, hey, my buddy is, ABC company, and he's advertising on a car that races at Stafford Motor Speedway. And I'd like to do the same thing. What, do you have a driver for me? And then I'd go look at my little thing, and yeah, I do have a driver. Or I don't, I'm going to go get one. It's just the way it is in this business. I don't know. I just see, where am I leading to this? What I'm leading to is there's guys in victory lane, and I know the announcers are trying to help the guy, and then they go, and driving the sponsor wanted number blah, blah, blah. I don't think that's cool. I really don't think it's cool. I know the track wants to help these guys, but that's not the sponsor wanted, no. How about the little associate sponsor that's on there that gave that guy tires so he could go racing? How about accentuating that guy and saying, hey, the XYZ company, car driven by so-and-so is the winner tonight. And then in the interview, hey, he's looking for more sponsorship. Again, constructive criticism. I don't want to be getting these. I'm telling you, I'll delete them. I won't even read them because don't send me nasty grams that I'm bashing anybody. I'm not. It's all constructive criticism. This is what I do for a living. I'm a marketing guy. All right, listen to me. I was very successful at UPS. Trust me, I know what I'm doing. Successful enough, folks, and I'm going to throw this out there. Successful enough that when I was 50 years old, I went into my boss and says, I don't need to do this anymore. Have a good day. Thank you for 25 good years at 50 years old. A lot of people said you should have stayed for another 5. No, why? For what? I had everything I ever wanted. I had everything I ever wanted, at least financially, at the time. Who knew that the economy was going to take a dump and crash and burn and my stock was going to plummet, and my 401k, I was going to lose all my interest and go into my principal. That's okay, but at the time I was set to do this. But nah, it's all good. It's all good. You got to look back and laugh. And, you know, life isn't always that easy. But Honolulu, Hawaii, I'm floored by that. You know, I mean, man, I know about the Cleveland, Ohio person, Richmond, Virginia person, and, you know, and the Connecticut people. I know about them. And Middletown, I know they're New Jersey. You know, Brooklyn, Medford, you know. It's all good. So that's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. That's 15 cities across this country, across the whole country, you know, from New York to Hawaii. See, I could say that now in my promos. I could say that. Man, we reached from, not only from the East Coast to the West Coast, but to Hawaii as well. A stopover. Originally, it was a stopover. It's a fueling stop during the war. That's why the United States took that over. But anyway, I'm going to start talking history, and this isn't a history lesson. It's a racing lesson. We talk racing. We talk racing. It's all good. Let's see. 25 good years. You know, my racers, WJ, you know, it's kind of funny because, you know, back in my UPS days, it was tough to go racing and work at UPS because UPS owned you. When I went to work Monday morning at you know 7 a.m., I never knew when I was going to get out at night. Because, you know, being in management, we were there before the drivers arrived, and most of us were there when the last driver pulled in, sometimes 9, 10 o'clock at night. And your weekends weren't your weekends because whatever you couldn't do paperwork-wise during the week, you had to do on the weekends. And your vacation wasn't your vacation. I had 6 weeks vacation, 10 personal days, and unlimited sick time. Don't try to use it. Because when you're on vacation, you had to bring your laptop, bring your phone, you know, and cell phones came into existence. And I'd be away at a race trying to make it happen, and, you know, I couldn't hear the phone. Then when I finally got low, I could, you know, call up, and the boss said, "Yeah, I called you for half an hour ago." Blah, blah. No, dude, I'm off. What the heck? You know? But they didn't want to. They didn't want to listen to that, you know. And there were times, and I could tell you about a couple of times. We went up to Lee with the late model, and ran on a Sunday. Didn't get out of there till like 10, 11 at night. Didn't get home till like 4 or 5 a.m. And it didn't pay to go to bed. So just hopped in the shower, put my shirt and tie on, and headed to the office. And so it was hard to be a racer and work at UPS because you just didn't have time. Like I said, UPS owns you. UPS owns you. And the only good thing that I found working at UPS, and I think Vinny, who used to be involved with Vinny Cardamone, who's a guest on our show a few times, who was in the advertising business and worked at FedEx. As you know, I was in and out of not as many customers as Vinny was daily, but as an account manager, I was in about 6 or 8 of my customers every day. And I had an account base of about 100 accounts. And you know I was pushing advertising on a race car to just about all of them. And some worked out, some didn't. And some worked out really well. And one of my first and biggest sponsors at the time was a company called Innovative Mailing and Shipping Systems back in 1989. The first customer I signed when I opened up JTL Enterprises for business back in 1989. So if you do the math, JTL Enterprises is celebrating 25 years this year. And we've had fun. We've had a lot of fun. And, you know, so and I still only have one full-time employee, me. So sometime this summer, I'm going to buy myself a gold watch and take myself out to dinner and give myself a little plaque celebrating 25 years. Now I have some salespeople that work for me, but they're not full employees. They're just people that go and try to make it happen. And I represent teams in 5 states, covering 6 different classes of race cars. I'm not going to go on and say who they are and what they get because that is part of my deal with them. It's nobody's business what they get. And I learned that my first year doing this, that it's nobody's business, that I had to put in a confidentiality clause. Just because you have my logo on your race car doesn't mean you got $1 million. But it was funny, and I'm not going to say who the guys were, where they raced, but two guys that I represented at the time were in the same racing division at the same racetrack. So a guy pulls in, he unloads his car, and the other guy goes, "Hey, JTL's helping you?" "Yeah, no, this guy's great. He got me $7,500. And the guy goes, "You did? You only got me $1,500. How come you got 75 and I got 15?" So now the guy who got 15 is all ticked off at me because, he thinks he was shortchanged. He's thinking I should have took the 75 and the 15, which equals 9, and gave them both 4,500. There's two separate companies, and one gave X and one gave Y. And so after that, I realized we have to have a confidentiality clause here because, we can't have guys like mad at me. They're my customers, they're my clients. Like my grandmother used to tell me, did Macy's tell Gimbels what they were going to put on sale? Absolutely not. And those of you who are old enough to know what Gimbels was, I don't think my control room knows what Gimbels was. But he's not even nodding. He's just sitting there like staring at the same. He has no clue. No, he knows a lot of stuff. He doesn't know about Gimbels or EJ Corvettes or Gertz. Yeah, motels. He might know. Yeah, it might be something you eat in Honolulu. Motels, they're still around, but they were big. He heard of motels. Nobody beats the Wiz. There you go. Yes. Yes, they did, because they don't exist. Oh, man. People talk. Oh, yes. Anyway, this chat room's having a fun time. Fat room's having a good fun time. But anyway, Talladega, we had this weekend. When we come back, I'm going to give my thoughts on Talladega, as I did on the racetrack that I went to this weekend. And again, I'll give you the results of Talladega, and again, my thoughts. We'll be back.
Hey, this is Gina Cotillo from The Gina Show. Come join us every Wednesday, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time for celebrity interviews, Reality Reel with Billy Charles, funny stories with Brian Kinnear, and much, much more. The Gina Show can be found only on InRadio.com, broadcasting to the world, so come and catch us.
For over 60 years, Hanson Carpet has put the customer first, providing only the finest quality products and service. And Hanson Carpet is so much more than just carpet. We also carry a wide selection of window blinds and shades, and our licensed and insured technicians can service any of your flooring or window covering needs. Browse our huge selection of laminate, carpet, linoleum, vinyl, and tile. Stop by our showroom today or visit HansonCarpet.com. No matter what your project, Hanson Carpet has got you covered. world of advertising has changed. Radio, TV, and newspaper revenues have declined drastically. Why? Because businesses have realized that advertising return on investment isn't what it used to be. So what can we do about it? Well, that's easy. Advertise online. Own a local restaurant, real estate agency, or even a national retail chain? Whatever your business, InRavio can get your message out there, and we can do it at a fraction of the cost. Call today and see the difference for yourself. This isn't TV. This isn't radio. This is InRavio.com.
Hey, we're back. Talladega. Talladega is one of my bucket list racetracks. It's one of the tracks I have not been to, and I would love to go there. I would have loved to go to North Wilkesboro, too, and I hope someday that NASCAR resurrects that facility. I mean, it's still there, and it's still used for other things, but I would sure love to see the Cup cars there. You know, it's a track like that. That should be part of the chase, where you separate the men from the boys. Tracks like that, you know. But anyway, Talladega, that's, like I said, I'd like to go there. Bucket list. I gotta put it on my bucket list of things that I'd like to do before I move on to the next life. But anyway, you know, I didn't watch too much of the race because I was running around doing stuff, and it's kind of funny. I mean, I used to plan my Sundays when I was home around races, and I'm finding out that there's more to life than being married to a race. You know, sometimes just sitting on the dock of the bay, as they say. You know, it's just very relaxing and serene. But I don't know. It's you know, it's you know, they talk about you know when's the big one going to happen, and that's what puts fans in the seats, and that's what gets viewers to watch. But from a competitor's point of view, I don't want to be a part of that. I don't want to be a part of the big one. You know, and Danica Patrick was part of the big one, and you're going at speeds, and when they publish the speeds, when they say they're averaging 192 miles an hour, you know at the end of the straightaway, right before they burp it, at a place like Talladega, they're probably around 215. Again, I didn't watch the race, and I'm sure they gave you that perspective, but here's what happened, and from what I did watch, there was a lot of 3 by 3 by 3 by 3 by 3 racing. Even a couple of 4 wide, a couple of times. Now, what happens when you have that? Well, if you understand anything about drafting, the front 3 cars are breaking the wind. They're breaking it, and it's going over the roofs of their cars and down the sides, and it's doing this. It's doing this. And as long as everybody stays in that little huddle, 3, 3, 3, 3, and everybody's going good. Now, the guy who's in the middle, he just needs to do that, I don't know if you could see that, and those who were just listening, what I did is I kind of just jiggled my body. When they do that, it disturbs the wind. It disturbs the wind. And it doesn't flow over the other cars right. And it's like a wave. It's like you're in your little rowboat on the bay, and you're just kind of hanging out, bobbing in the water. Because I'm going to put it in terms that folks who've never raced might understand. Bobbing in the water, it's all nice. And a big boat comes by, and all of a sudden, the turbulence of the water start bouncing your little rowboat all over the place. That's what happens in a 3x3x3x3x3 draft when the air gets a little out of whack, or somebody bobbled, or somebody went to move and who was supposed to go with them didn't go. When that happens, when the outside and inside person says, hey, I'm going, come on, come with me, and he goes out, it's like that guy hit a brick wall. When they say they got shuffled to the back, they didn't get shuffled to the back. They hit a brick wall of air that wasn't moving because they left the little vacuum. They left it. They got out of it. They didn't want to play with others. They know, I don't want to play with you guys. I want to go my own way. Come on, hey, come with me. And nobody goes with you. You know, the spotters are up on the roof. Hey, if I jump out, go with me. Okay. And the guy jumps out. No, he's not going. He's going to take that extra spot. Come on, there's no honor in racing. Everybody's out for themselves. You know, it's just one of those things. You know, it's just one of those things when you look at that, when you look at what's going on in the drafting and why some of these big wrecks happen, and what happens if a tenth of a second a guy lifts a little bit early, and you get into him just enough to give him a little bump and get them a little squirrel. You're taking the air off the spoiler, and boom, what happens? There was a spin out with Ryan Newman when somebody was spinning on a racetrack and coming down. Ryan, the way he hit him, I thought for sure that the whole front end of his car was going to be mashed. But there was very minimal damage because the car was already going that way. So there was no force. It was just, it looked worse than it was. But you know what happens is at a racetrack like this, you know what? They're going flat out. The gas pedals are buried to the floor. They're very rarely lifting. If they lift at all, it's just to give it a little burp to set the car up for a corner or to go in a little bit. And they're bobbing and weaving and they're going and it's just, it's going to happen. And I say this, go back 10, 15 years with the Cup cars before all this aero was in them, when they were pretty much, you look at Bobby Allison's Buick from back in the day, nothing could have been more boxier than that car he had back then, and anybody else who drove that style race car. And there were no restrictor plates, and yeah, there was a lot of talk about that's what got him injured that one time, because there were no restrictor plates, and I had to slow the cars down. And you know what? When you go back and look, they slowed the cars down drastically that season and the season after. But what's happened is each successive year after that, the speeds have come back up with restrictor plates. Why? Because of aero. They're cutting through the air a lot smoother. There's less resistance, less drag, and a little more downforce. It's just all of these things. Now, so what do we have? What happens here? We have these wrecks. Here's what I say. Get the aero out of the cars on the super speedway. Get rid of it. Get rid of all that air. Eliminate this wind tunnel testing, which costs buku dollars. Take the restrictor plates off, put the driver back in the seat, and let them, if they have to. Somebody once told me sometimes you can steer the car with the gas pedal, and that's what you might have to do. And you have to drive these cars. And some of these young kids driving these cars today, I don't know if they could have drove 20 years ago. I mean, they couldn't legally because they were probably not even born yet. But you take these young guys today, and don't get me wrong, they're very talented. I'm not saying they're not. But they've never had to muscle a race car around. Maybe they did. I don't know. Maybe they went and raced late models somewhere. But these kids were coming up into the top 3 series and to the modifieds who were 17 years old, 16 years old. How much driving could they have done? I mean, come on. You know, I've done more races than they've done laps, some of these guys. And well, anyway, we won't go there. I had to stop myself short there. Filters. But they've never had to muscle a car around with no power steering and no power brakes and no aero and, you know, not a perfect race car where, you know, the toe's out a little bit or the camber's a degree off or they need a half more pound of air in the right rear. I couldn't imagine Bobby Allison pulling into the pits at any racetrack. Oh, we need to take a half a pound of air out of the left rear. Maybe it's me, but he would drive. He would adjust his driving style based on how to go. Yeah, they would make adjustments and stuff like that, but I don't know if these young guys today could have drove race cars 20 years ago. I don't know if I could have. I don't know if I could drive one now, and I'm being told that on a regular basis. But it's just a whole different scenario. And these races, I remember and I do remember when Talladega first raced, half the drivers didn't want to race the event. They thought it was unsafe. So what did they do? They had I believe it was a sportsman race the day before, and they allowed those guys run with the Cup to make it a full field. Why? Why did they not want to race these guys? Because they felt that it was too dangerous, it was too frightening, it was too much to lose. Yeah, you know, and the safety issues weren't that great. If you go to the NASCAR Hall of Fame, you look at some of these old race cars. There was one I looked at, I can't remember off the top of my head. It'll come to me probably when I'm driving home. There was a bar that was just welded in to keep the seat in place. Just a bar, boop, just a bar sitting there, hanging out. And they used, you know, the stock seats that came with the car. Some of them still had the bench seats in them. Some of them had the bench seat, and you could tell it was cut, and then a bunch of tape, you know, black tape, you know, to keep the foam and stuff in place. And they used to, you know, strap the doorposts to keep the doors from flying open. And they had the stock dashboards. Now, you know, you go bouncing around in one of those things, you know, but with the stock dashboards, and some had the radio, the old AM radio, still in the car and the dashboards, and you look at that and you're like, wow, you know, wonder why more guys didn't get hurt. But it was just one of those things. So Talladega, from what I could see, it looked like an awesome crowd. And part of that, I'm sure, was because they all wanted to see the big one. And I know there was a fiery crash in the nationwide race and on Saturday. And, you know, people eat this stuff up, you know. But, you know, for a guy who was hurt in a race car, I don't like to see that stuff. I don't like to see crashes. I like to see good, hard racing. I like to see door handle to door handle, wheel to wheel, hub to hub. You know, the sparks flying. I like to see it at the end of a race that you can't read the numbers on the side of the cars because there was that hard of a race. You know, these cars are coming off, not these, but in some of these races, they're coming off just as shiny as they went out there. You know, you might see some rubber specks on them, but racing's not the same. And that was one of the things we talked about with Jerry Cook on Saturday, was how racing has evolved over time. And you know, he's an old school racer. And he talked about, when he talked about his Falcon and how he just took the Falcon body parts and he pieced it together that first year of his Falcon, and it looked like who knows what. And then the second year when he came out with the Falcon, it was a lot different because they had time to do it right. You know, they had time to do it right. I do need one. I need more than that. My hat. You know, it's funny, somebody asked me where my My hat is, I always have it. It's in my car. But I was trying to turn over a new leaf. I was trying to be a different person. I was trying to be a good guy, you know. And I think, like I can't use the word they use, but basically it was, I was Petey Bad Blank with my black hat and as they call it. I don't know where they came up with the name Petey because my name's Joe. But anyway, Talladega, Nationwide. Elliott Sadler was the winner, followed by Chris Brucia, Reagan Smith third, David Reagan fourth, Sam Hornish Jr. was fifth, Joe Nemechek was sixth, J.J. Yearley was seventh, Landon Castle eighth, David Starr ninth, and Trevor Bayne wrapping out the top 10. On the Cup side, Denny Hamlin pocketed $303,315 in prize money, followed by Greg Biffle, Clint Boyer, Brian Vickers fourth, A.J. Allmendinger fifth, Paul Menard sixth, Kevin Harvick seventh, Casey Kane eighth, Kyle Larson ninth, and Ricky Stenhouse Jr. Rounding out the top 10. The trucks, after more than a month off, will be running this Friday in Kansas. More than a month off. Wow. I can't believe it. You know, I just can't believe it. You know, a month off. I don't understand the scheduling. And maybe I don't. Maybe there's reasons for this. But I'm a racer. I want to race every week. I don't want to race once a month, once every 2 months, take 6 weeks off, go racing. I don't understand scheduling. And those kind of schedules you only saw with local weekly racing, where you have a division that's off a couple of weeks, and that's okay once in a while. But now think about this, and this has happened. You have 2 weeks off. Yeah, I don't, Moogie Love. Now I know who Moogie Love is. I just don't understand it. But what I don't understand is this: the heavy stock division has 2 weeks off in the schedule. All right. It rains the week before their first week off. There's a rain out. It rains the week that they're supposed to come back. That's 4 weeks off. Now, from a sponsor's point of view, how do I go to a sponsor as a competitor and say, yeah, come to the racetrack, watch it. Oh, and we're not going to be there the month of August. We have 2 weeks off. And, the week coming, it rained. All right? One of my teams lost a sponsor because of not anything the racetrack did, and I'm not blaming the racetrack. I'm blaming the sponsor when I look at the schedule. I'm blaming the team for not communicating to the sponsor that they were off. But the sponsor's talking all this, hey, I got a car, I sponsor a car, I'm going to race, let's go. They get in the car, off they go. They get to the racetrack, they're sitting there. So where's your car? Where's your car? I don't know. What division is this? I think it's that one. Well, where's your car? I don't know. Now he's embarrassed. What kind of phone call you think you're going to get on Monday if you were that guy, that driver? And what are the odds of this sponsor coming back the following season? Slim to none. Gone. Boop, they're not coming. So on top of giving your sponsor a return on their sponsorship dollar, you have to open up the line of communication. I had one sponsor that every Sunday morning, before I even had breakfast, because he lived out of state and he didn't get to go to the races, and he didn't get the updates right away, and he wasn't on the Long Island Jam type of thing. And I had to email him before I had breakfast on Sunday morning. Started 9th, finished 5th. This is who won. Here's the finish. We are now XYZ in the points. God forbid I didn't get to do that. If I decided that I was going to hang out in the pits after, maybe have a cocktail or two at the Lake Kenny Hyde and get out of there at 3 in the morning, and then stop at the diner, have something to eat, and then sleep till 11. He'd be on the phone. What happened? What happened? What happened? Guy was a good sponsor, so whatever he needed me to do, I was going to do. Every once in a while, we slipped through the crowd. That was the guy that we missed the race, and I just told him we had to miss a race. It was for personal reasons. And when I saw him he had come to a tour race, and he goes, so what happened to your driver? I had to miss the race. And I said, I'm going to be honest with you. I was away at a tour race, and my team didn't, my driver, my crew chief, didn't have the money to go this week. And I think I shared that next year, is that, you know, he said, how many races are left and how much is it to get in? And he wrote a check right then and there and said, tell you guys not to miss any more races. You know, it's, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, the Silvercheck, the model, you know, we ran Stafford 2 weeks ago in the modified, the Wheeler modified tour, and then went out running again till the Friday before Labor Day, Memorial Day. That's a month off. It's a month off. Now, maybe that's good for me because it gives me the opportunity to get some laps in somewhere, and I hope to have some laps this weekend. But it just, I don't understand that. I look at past schedules when I first involved in the tour, and, you know, 23, 26 races, and it was a different time. There's no question about it. It was a totally different time. You know, I don't know. I just don't understand the schedule. I just don't understand the schedule. You know, I don't know. It's just one of those things. But scheduling, you know, to be given you know, you look at a 6-month, April, May, June, July, August, September, 6 months, and your division only has 10 or 11 races. Come on, that's not fair to the teams. That's not fair to the competitors. You know, what would be fair? I don't know, 15 races maybe? Or maybe some people feel, well, if they have 15 races, they're going to tear up more equipment, they can't afford it, we're going to have less cars on the racetrack. I don't believe that. I don't know, maybe a guy or a gal will come out with a car because there's more opportunity to race. You know, I don't know. I don't know. Who knows? Who knows? But it's just one of those things. And again, it just, I don't understand scheduling. I don't understand scheduling. And maybe somebody could help me to understand that. You know, exactly. 5 divisions. Somebody just put Mowgli on. 5 divisions every night. Pick the 5. And I don't know. Let me take a break. When we come back, I'm gonna segue off of that 5 divisions, and again, I want to remind everybody, it's not a bash of any one racetrack. It's just a constructive criticism of this observation. But we'll take a break and we'll come back.
For over 60 years, Hanson Carpet has put the customer first, providing only the finest quality products and service. And Hanson Carpet is so much more than just carpet. We also carry a wide selection of window blinds and shades, and our licensed and insured technicians can service any of your flooring or window covering needs. Browse our huge selection of laminate, carpet, linoleum, vinyl, and tile. Stop by our showroom today or visit HansonCarpet.com. No matter what your project, Hanson Carpet has got you covered.
we're back. Hey, before I forget, the Metal Maniacs, if you're going to be looking for them after my show tonight, Metal Maniacs time slot has moved. Metal Maniacs are on before me now, Monday night, 6 to 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, or Eastern Daylight Time. In fact, I came downstairs and I heard them talking. I thought maybe traffic was that bad that it took me like 2.5 hours to get here. Sometimes coming here, traffic is just a nightmare. But no, they moved. They're on before me. So I want to wish the Metal Maniacs, wish them well in their new time slot, 6 to 7. Plus, you know, when they're on 10 to 11, because I do 7 to 9, as you all know, the staff here, they don't get out of here until really late. And so we want to help them out as well. So we got a good team going on here. Yeah, right. So anyway, and yes, my race news, it is a long flight of stairs. It's a set of stairs. Going down is easy because I can go down with gravity. But this old foot don't like going upstairs, especially that many stairs. As you know, WJ, you've been here a couple of times. And try to rush out and have that little smoke break. But anyway. So 5 divisions. We all know where that's going. Here's what happens. I'm going to tell you how new divisions are formed from what I've seen. Not from what I've heard, not from what somebody told me, from what I have seen. You have a guy, competitor, guy, whatever, they go up to the promoters or the track operators and they go, hey, you know, you ever think about having these kind of race cars? And the promoter said, well, you know, do you think we have enough? There's enough guys that will build? Oh, yeah, you know, let's start this division and we'll get some cars. Maybe the first year it'll be weak, but, you know, after that it's gone. So here's what happens. Because this guy has sold the track operators that it's going to bring more cars. So what happens? The back marker in Division A is going to say, whoa, you know what? Let's sell this car. And with that money, build one for there. And the back marker from Division B is going to say the same thing. And the next thing you know, you have 8 or 10 of the back markers from other divisions in this new division. You didn't gain anybody new. It's the same doggone people. So now you have 6 divisions. And instead of having 100 cars in 5 divisions, you have 100 cars in 6 divisions. So instead of having 20 cars in each division, you have like 17 in each division. Oh, no, you know what? We saw these other cars racing at such and such speed. We should have those here. Oh, yeah, no, let's make rules. And the same thing happens, and it gets diluted. And it gets diluted even further. Years ago, when they had modifieds and figure eights, there was 20 or 30 modifieds, there was 60 or 70 figure eight cars, and then they came out with the street stocks. So some guys moved over to the street stock. So now you didn't have the 20 or 30 modifieds and the 60 or 70 figure eight cars, which gave you how many? 30, so 100 cars in 2 divisions. Now you had 100 cars in 3 divisions. So now all of a sudden, they changed the name of the street stocks, the late models, and the price of the late model, now the price of the cars skyrocketed. So now what happens? Well, I can't afford that. Holy cow, man. So a couple of guys leave, and then they form this novice division, which was a spin-off. And I'm talking about ISA Speedway back in the day. The novice division was a spin-off of the women's division, which only had 10 or 12 women. And then what happens when it went novice, they allowed novice men drivers to go in. We all know that some of the guys that went in there, they drove bombers for years at Freeport and Riverhead, and they drove street stocks, and they weren't really novice drivers. So those guys went into the office and, yo, we're really not novice. We shouldn't be novice. So what can we call ourselves? Let's call ourselves Charger cars. And it just evolves. So what happens now is now you have another division. And that another division then, again, takes some of the guys that couldn't afford to race where they were racing, and now you have, you know, still have 100 cars, but now you have 6 divisions. Now, you know, back, 15 or so years ago, you know, when the figure eights had here at Riverhead had 3 heat races, and the late models had 3 heat races, the Chargers had 4 heat races, and the blunderbuss had 4 races, and the modifieds had so many cars that we actually made a provisional rule for them, which I still think is in place. And then all of a sudden it just crumbled, and you started losing cars. You started losing cars to other racetracks that are far away. And I don't understand that. How there's teams that they literally have to drive past their home track and drive 3 hours to go somewhere else to go racing. And that needs to be addressed. And the people, the powers to be, whether it's the PR people, whether it's marketing, whatever people, officials, they need to get with the law. I call them the lost drivers. Where'd they go? They went somewhere. Some retired, some quit, some passed away. But there's a good way. You look at finishes. You look at the finishes at Waterford. There's Long Islanders in there. You look at finishes at Stafford. There's Long Islanders there. When Thompson was running weekly, you look at those finishes. Long Islanders are running there. Mountain Speedway. Now it's Evergreen. There's Long Islanders racing there. Spencer Speedway. There's Long Islanders racing there. Upstate New York. Tremont. You know, why? Why would you tow 3, 4, 5, 6 hours to go race when there's a racetrack in your backyard? I don't understand it. And favoritism, you know, there's favoritism everywhere, at every racetrack. I've seen it. Like I said, I've been to over 80 racetracks in North America, in Canada, Mexico, you know, from New Hampshire to California, from Oregon to Florida. I've been to these racetracks, and if anybody wants to challenge me on it, I got my list, and I probably still have my pit pass and ticket stubs that I put in a scrapbook. You know, Cottage Grove Speedway in Oregon, I went there in 1988, and in the Toyota Showdown I went to once, and that was 3 years ago. So I've been to these events. I've been to Daytona. I've been to Bristol. I've been to New Hampshire. I've been to a lot of places, a lot of weekly tracks. You know, Ontario Speedway in California, down in Mexico City with the Mexico Series. So it's just one of those, and Silver Jack, I agree with that, but not last year, or the year before, because I was there. I was trying to get a ride in the modified. Who would have known? I just should have called you. But anyway, when you look at these things and why is this happening, and I blame the local racetrack, not just my local racetrack in my backyard, but all over the place. There needs to be a retention committee at racetracks. There needs to be a retention committee and somebody who looks at the finishes and looks who signed in and says, hey, listen, you know, Goggles Paisano hasn't been here in 2 weeks. Maybe we should call him up, find out what's going on. And sometimes it's a misunderstanding. Sometimes it's financial. Maybe the guy's work schedule changed, but somebody needs to make that driver feel important. Because after he hangs up the phone, he's going to go, wow, they actually wondered where I was. Mikey Mortimer went up to Seekonk with his late model. He wasn't happy with some of the things that were happening in his local racetrack. So Mike Mortimer from Long Island took his late model to Seekonk, ran a couple of races, had a decent running. But for whatever reason, he missed 2 weeks in a row. He got a phone call. Is everything all right? Need anything? Why, did something happen that you're not coming back? That was like giving him $1 million. That's what needs to be done. A retention officer, a retention official, somebody who looks at that. Hey, where is this guy? Oh, I'm not doing it. Where's your race car? What are you doing with it? See, now that person now can get involved. He can even broker a deal. Hey, listen, you're not racing, but this guy's looking to go racing, doesn't have a car. Maybe you could work something out. That's all I'm saying. You know, and there's so many race cars sitting in garages, in shops, in backyards, in driveways covered, even in junkyards that they're just sitting in the back. Nobody knows what to do with. Not that that would be a car you want to go take out. You know, it's been sitting in the junkyard for 4, 5, 6 years, whatever. I'm just making it up. But, you know, here we go with that. You know, there's what some of your race cars are. Yeah, I might be done, not me personally, but the guy said, I'm done. And the other problem is some of these guys who are done racing, they they bought a race car for $2,500 and they put $3,000 into it and they want to sell it for $6,000 because they want to make a small profit. That's not how it goes. It's not like you bought a house. You know, you bought a house for $200 and you made all these improvements, built-in pool, deck, you know, the third bathroom, whatever, and you want to sell it for $350. That's not how race cars go. You know, in racing, it's, hey, listen, if you bought your car for $5,000 and that was complete and rolling and you used it for a couple of years, be happy to get $2,500. Just throwing those numbers out there. You know, it just, I don't know. I just don't know. And, you know, and Mike Mortimer, a good friend of mine, I know him a very, very long time. A lot of people don't know that. Not that we keep it a secret, but him and I go back a number of years. I worked with his brother, Peter, who had passed away at UPS. And Mike, a lot of people don't know that, ran figure eights back in the day. A lot of people don't know that. You know, him and I go back a long way. And now he's happy. He's just hanging out, driving a tow truck. He still has his late model around, you know, sitting in the, he's got a hangar at the airport off of William Floyd Parkway where he keeps his stuff. I remember going to work on his car. I had to get security clearance. But it's kind of funny. But that's what needs to be done. An official whose job. I had this discussion at a safer meeting. I think it was, and that's the Suffolk Association of Figure Racing. I'm not sure if it was last year or the year before. And we were talking about cars. And everybody was like, well, I heard this and I heard that. Well, I heard this guy's this. And I said, whoa, you know what? Why don't we call the guy himself? Not, you know, well, Jim told Pete, who told Mike, who told Harry, the guy's, you know, not racing because, you know, whatever. Call the guy up. It took 5. So we all took 2 or 3 names, called them up, and we got the facts on some of these guys. And I think that's what needs to be done at racetracks. An official whose job is to, hey, Mr. Official, Mr. New Official even, or Mr. Old Official, as a report with the driver, anybody. Here's those guys that don't run anymore. Let's see where they are. Let's see what they're doing. They're not here. Now, and I know the track, the local track here, tried to do that a little while ago. And I'm saying about 5, 6 years ago, and it was coming back, and I'm going to say, because I got a letter too, well, one of my drivers got a letter, and when I spoke to the owners of the racetrack as to why that driver wasn't racing anymore, they tried to tell me that my driver was the only guy that felt that way. Well, I got with a couple other people, and those couple other people who I had helped over the years then wrote letters in, and they realized that's not why people come in. There was other reasons. There was mitigating circumstances here. So some came back, some didn't, whatever. But there needs to be somebody that's going to be honest enough to go back to the owners and say, hey, you know, Mr. Track Operator, these drivers aren't coming back because this reason. These 3 aren't coming back for that reason, and these 5 or 6 guys aren't coming back for this reason. And that's what they need to do. They need to take a look and do a retention person that finds out where the cars are, where the drivers are, and even have, like, in the website, hey, this guy's not racing, but his car's for sale, her car's for sale. And if it's a matter of, hey, I'm not racing because I can't get my car to the racetrack, I don't have a truck no more, I don't have a trailer, there's a lot of people that can make that happen. You know, I'm all about growing the business. That's what I do, and that's what I enjoy doing. And you bring these people back in and you make it happen. And there's just a lot of people missing. There's a lot of names missing. People's work schedules changed. I was talking to a guy just this weekend. I said, hey, you know, I saw him at the end of the night. I said, what are you doing? You're not racing a lot? He goes, I work Saturdays, and the races start too early. What do you mean they start too early? I work till 5:30. So by the time I get home, even if I just go home and change and get to the racetrack, it's, you know, I miss qualifying. And I was like, wow. And I don't think any racetrack's going to change their start time because of one driver, but they might change it because of 10. Just something to think about. I think that's something that needs to be gone, you know. Yeah, so like, what are you saying? Woogly Love is saying, Racing Cutie once said, if you don't like the way it's run, don't come. And I know exactly what he's talking about, and I know, exactly who he's talking about. And that was posted on the Long Island Jam. I'm thinking about 7 or 8 years ago. And that was a direct quote from this person, because they were kind of complaining about how the officiating was being done. And it was done during an era where if you didn't like the officiating was done, you were told to go bowling. I don't think I ever said that to somebody, but I did say other things. I'm sure there's a handful of drivers who stopped coming because of things that I did or didn't do. And no matter who the head guy is, you're going to have people that don't agree with you. But I don't know. We'll see what happens. Hey, we're going to take a final break real quick, and when we come back, we'll start our wrap-up. We'll be back.
Hey, Beatle fans, I'm Glenn Calderon.
And I'm Lucy Diamond.
Join us every Tuesday night from 8 to 9 p.m. Eastern Time for Beatles Across the Universe.
On InRavio.com.
Broadcasting to the world.
Catch us.
InRavio.com.
Hey, we're back. Hey, Moogly Love reminded me of a situation real quick. We had two late model drivers a few years back, Sean Patrick and Jared Hayes, who for about 4 or 5 weeks in a row were wrecking each other. Maybe not on purpose, maybe the paybacks are on purpose, but it just seemed like every week, 4 or 5 weeks in a row, beating and banging, wrecking each other, coming off on the hook. So I bring them both into the office. I go, look, guys, you like crashing so much, this is what you're going to do. Before you could run your next late model event, which they had 2 weeks off, before you could run your late model here at this racetrack, I need you to go to the local scrapyard, get a car, gut it, and make it a demolition derby car. You cannot drive your late models until you ran a demo, because hopefully you'll get all the beating and banging out of your system. So they both looked at me like I had 3 heads, which some nights I did. And next thing I know, the local scrap man comes in and says, did you send me 2 guys to get demo cars? I said, yeah, I did. And he was, all right. But one guy actually went through the motions. The other guy didn't believe me. But it turns out they learned their lesson. And I don't think to this day they've crashed with each other since. Anyway. And a reminder, Long Island Need for Speed is Tuesday nights now, 8 p.m. on Channel 114, Cablevision Woodbury. Tune in. Kevin has been a big help to me and over the years, and it looks like he's going to do some video for me, so I appreciate everything. And if you need any DVDs, see Kevin, and he can get you just about anything you like. And I guess that's it. We're going to wrap up. So wherever you're going this weekend, please be safe, have fun, have a good time. Tell somebody that you love them, and God bless you all. Thanks for tuning in.
InReview.com. InReview.com.